Hello, 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 and welcome to another One Lion of Code. I am One Lion. How are you doing? So I didn't add any vocal effects. I wanted to, but there was way too much going on this morning. Not really way too much. I was just busy doing work. So anyway, as you can see, or I guess here, you can see that I have downloaded Finite's OBS thingy and just wanted to show it off. It's amazing. It is awesome stuff. If you are a streamer using OBS, it's super easy to install. Just go over to his, this is my first community action of the day. This is the URL for where his plugin is. Super easy to set up. If you're on Windows, you can just download the installer, point it to the directory that has your OBS stuff, and then just hit install. And then whatever source you want to put the effect on, you just right click, go to filter. If you're on Windows, triggered. If you are on, well, the thing is, I only have experience with Windows. If you're on Mac OS, he has 3 different versions. And if you're on Ubuntu, then he has a version for that too. I just don't know if they come with installers. So anyway, cool stuff. This is both the CRT effect on the main thing that has the what is this called? Window swap scene, as well as the camera. And it also has a VHS effect for the tape wrinkle, the noise, the best specs and stuff. Really, really cool stuff. But anyway, super easy to use. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. Okay. Onwards and upwards as soon as I get everything closed up and cleaned up. You're amazing. Not that he's not, but you are too. I thought only one person could be amazing at a time. Onwards and sideways. Okay, so I got my virtual cam going. Plural amazing, many amazing, all of the above, and hello, foolish Snabu. Hopping into here, and I see Tyndall is already waiting, but give me a second to get started, and I'll pull you in to the room, because we have a preamble. Well, preamble number 1 was showing off Finite's finished and released Retro Effects plugin, OBS plugin. Really cool stuff. You can do a lot more than just CRT, VHS. You can do like the digital signal thing, the NTSC processing, the matrix. Oh no! I pushed magical buttons on my OBS on accident. Or was it on purpose? Let's see if I can... What happens if I do it with a completely empty background? Filters. Nom noms. Nom nom. Completely empty background. Filters. Add. Retro effects. And matrix ray. Oh geez. That is crazy. Wait, what's this noise up here? It's kind of cool, I guess, but that should not be there. Hello, good VJ. Anyway, fun times, good stuff. Okay, so hello, welcome in. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. Today, Fridays on this stream, is Community Day. So I'm going to give my little intro, and then we already have Tyndall waiting in the stream room, just working on getting set up and looking at Belin's cat pictures since I happen to be looking over at OBS. Test out. Got that open. Start my camera. There, cool. So Community Day on this stream is a day where I invite each of you members of our community into Discord, where you can hop into the stream waiting room. Let me know in Twitch chat that you're waiting there. I believe Dukabot gave us a command called waiting stream. I don't remember what command he made. Dang it. Anyway, he gave us a command that we can use for letting me know that you are waiting in the stream room, in the stream waiting room. Whatever. But yeah, mine is the command for Community Day with the link for how to get into Discord is Community Day. I'm pretty sure anyone can do it. But yeah. So there's that. What else is going on? So the other thing that's going on is I want to shout out TBD Gamer, who also had a community day this morning that was amazing. It was so much engagement from his community there, which most of you are a part of, so you were there too. But for those of you that aren't there and don't know who TBD Gamer is, you should definitely check him out. He's an application developer, works on 2 applications. He streams daily. On Mondays and Tuesdays, he does game dev, doing Godot, learning Godot, trying to figure out how it works so that he can create his dream game that he wants to make. The second one is a project planning application called Liquid Sky currently, and that one is time flew this morning, he says. That one is all about developer-centric project management type processes. So think Kanban boards, except not really Kanban boards. Think something more like Jira or Azure DevOps. But yeah, there were great discussions on his stream this morning. So much fun. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for hosting it and allowing us to be a part of it, of your community. Good times. So one of the topics that we talked about on his community day, which I would like to talk about today, if you are okay with it. I mean, you are going to lead the conversation. TBD Trello. He said, ouch. If you are okay with it, because you should be the ones leading the conversation, but I wanted to dive more into the information that he started giving about event sourcing. And I have a specific scenario. It was an accident, Mojo. A specific, wrong one. Scenario that I was wondering if event sourcing is appropriate for it. So I'm going to try to reiterate or restate, I guess, what TBD informed us, and his guests as well do so, and Canhorn and Thindle was on there too. And by the end, there were more people in there. I just don't know who was in his voice channel. But event sourcing is essentially a way where you can, it kind of reminds me of cumulative backups for a virtual disk, for example, or a virtual machine, where you have, here's your starting baseline, and then here is a change that happened, or the event itself is more like, here are instructions for how to apply a change to that baseline to get to the next step, and vice versa, how to go back to baseline if you are at that step. And that makes perfect sense. What doesn't make sense to me is when we're talking about it in the sense of sending data, really thinking hard about the way that I say it, to a database, and I said database, sending data to a database when you are, it's like you're updating every second or every keystroke or something is what it feels like you would use that for. But you have an object that is persisted in a database or record. You're making changes to it in your app, and you need to somehow track changes or be able to undo or go from the current state that it's in to the next state. And you need to do that by applying all of the changes that happen from that point in time, from the beginning to now, essentially. So two things is, what really is the architectural setup for that? Do I have a table in my database that's like record ID change, so it kind of looks like an audit table, which I asked about on a stream? Or is it more like keep the current record that's in the database up to date as the most recent record, but still somehow have an event table or object that says these are the changes that went into bringing it to this point? But yeah, so we're going to talk about, I hope you guys will want to talk about that, because I have a specific use case that's currently on screen, or once I update it, that I would like to apply it to. Okay, that said, are you ready, Kendall, to be pulled into the stream channel? Aye. Here it come. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic is checked.
Awesome. Hello, everyone.
And hello, Tyndall. So first of all, it was really cool hearing you on TVD's stream this morning.
Well, nice being heard. I had a great time.
I haven't spoken to Tyndall much today.
What? Well, come on, join us, TVD.
He said he will in a bit. Hi, good
Hey,
VJ,
Snazzy.
though. If I hadn't
I think
already
I
said
scared
it.
you away before.
Scared Snazzy?
Snazzy. Yeah, he showed up in the waiting room and I said hi and he ran off.
Oh no.
So I'm outing him here.
Yeah, definitely make sure you let me know in Twitch chat if you are in the waiting room, because I'll be looking over here and that's way over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so here is my use case. If I can build. Well, actually, I should have the UI for it here real quick.
I'm gonna switch over to the view in
Discord.
the stream room real quick.
Okay.
I'll get rid of the lag.
So I tried to show Waterman and RMA Water on Wednesday, and when I went there, the sites were down. All of the sites were down. All of the web apps for RMA were down. And it did end up being that the flippin' CA root server, there's that thing's certificates expired. And so I had to create a new root CA certificate, sign all of the, or create and sign all of the certificates for the individual servers. It took like 3 hours.
Who
to do
controls the certificates?
I do.
All right.
So it's a in-house root CA.
Oh, it's not, one in the official chain, but
Yeah. It's so it gets its own, like, I didn't even know how easy it was. I had to do so much research on it, but I didn't know how easy it was to recreate the root certificate. So you have a snap-in in MMC, which is I don't know what MMC stands for, but the Windows Management Console.
I think that's exactly what it stands for. The second part, at least.
Yeah. There's a snap-in for root certificate authority that you just right-click and create a new root certificate. It takes the server down, brings it back up, and you're good. And then you start signing requests, and then they're back up. Microsoft Management Console, as far as I know, says TBD.
That's the one. It's just Microsoft of Windows, but I mean, you can manage more than just Windows, so I guess
yeah, there was
Microsoft.
There was one other big issue that happened. I was like, okay, so I got this. I got it working on test server. I came over to water management. I tested it, logged in, everything was working, and I'm like, it's good. And then I did it on the production server, tested it in water management. It worked. Tested it in RMA Water. It didn't work. I was like, what? huh? So then I'm checking and it's like, your blah, blah, blah doesn't have permissions for identity server and all of this stuff. And I'm like, wait, water management is updated to .NET 8. No identity server. No need to worry about that. So I'm like, oh, it's the thumbprint, obviously. So I put the thumbprint in the app settings, restarted all the apps, still broken. And there was one more step, which is you need to give your identity service, if you have a service account. What are they called? Active Directory service account? Yeah. That does your identity stuff, permissions to the private key of your certificate, which is annoying.
So it needs to have like the password to access the private key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did, and everything's working again. So here we are. So
Nice.
Here's the screen. We have an issue.
No, I followed like half of that, right?
Good.
Sounded advanced.
Well, I mean, it was just certificates expired. I needed to create new certificates and then configure them. The end. CD, water management Blazor, because triplicates. This is like government work. .NET Watch. Launch profile. HTTPS. I hope I did that right.
I have never used Launch Profile.
I haven't either, but because of the way that the template is set up, for .NET 8 projects, come on. You have two launch settings. Both of them have HTTP version of it, and only one of them has only HTTP. Or only one of them has HTTPS. So when you try to do .NET Watch, it tries to run this one every single time. And
what
so
happens
instead of
just
deleting it every time, I just do .NET Watch because I have a lot of apps.
Unable to find package models.
Yeah, that's me.
You got your own NuGet feed as well?
I do, and it's currently disabled because I didn't want it interfering with the rest of our stream stuff.
No, separate NuGet feeds and .NET Tool and stuff really mess with each other.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Well, like, I can fix it if I just put a NuGet config in this one.
Yeah, but like overall, I mean, if you have multiple NuGet stores, Nugget stores, one knows, configured, like in your system, and you try and run .NET Tools, if you can't find it in the first one it looks, it'll give you a warning or rather an error and stuff saying, can't find this tool, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but it might be in one of the other ones. Keep looking.
Yeah, it's like skip the first one and just keep looking through the rest of them.
And I mean, technically it's the same with the management view as well. You know, manage NuGet packages, because you have to select the NuGet repository you want to look in. You can't just say look everywhere.
And even update workloads if I have custom NuGet feeds enabled. That's annoying. Marcus Voice Coder says Oracle database has the ability to roll back to a certain point in time, I believe, out of the box, but obviously not cheap. This is probably in response to the initial conversation about like audit tables and change tracking, essentially, which we'll get to eventually, I hope. Do I need to add my non-work account version? Nerd Herder is going to be so mad at me.
Why?
My work account has the same email address as my personal account because I set up my personal account before setting up my work account, and it's like there are going to be a lot of issues that come up, and I'm like, I haven't ran into too many issues, so it should be fine. Oh.
Did you know that way back in the before times, you had to have a personal Microsoft account to be able to start using Azure?
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, not sure what to say about that, but
That was definitely plenty. Yay, it's restoring. So yes, I have to use my personal one to access the NuGet feed, even though both my personal and work accounts have access to Azure DevOps.
you know it's possible to change the email of a personal account.
I yeah.
Let
There's a
me tell
lot
you
to
about
it.
how long I've had mine. It's still called MSN at.
Wait,
I
how did
had
it
it when MSN
succeed?
Messenger was still a thing.
Weird. Yeah, definitely. I had one. Well, I still have one when it's Hotmail that went over
Mhm.
to MSN. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a personal domain at least. I don't think I ever really had a Hotmail actually. I've always used other mail services.
I had all of them. I have my Yahoo one, my Hotmail,
Mhm.
my Ozone
I
when
think I had an
Ozone
AOL
or
one, but that was
yeah, I never
because
had
AOL
it.
Messenger, whatever it's called, required it.
Wait, are you not up to date?
You saw that ICQ is now officially dead, though, right?
I didn't. That's sad.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It's a piece of internet history. And it's shut down. And the worst part there is they gave 2 days notice.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Sure, there wasn't a lot of people
Rude.
using it still, but the people who were, they got 2 days to like try and get everything they had on there backed up and yeah, figure
Yeah,
out how to talk to their friends going forward.
if I was still using it, I would have been
Yeah.
peeved. I'm still having no issues. I was wondering why I'm getting warnings for
And
vulnerabilities because I have updated everything and got rid of all of my warnings in these
there was
projects.
one service index I couldn't
Yeah,
refresh.
that was really weird. And it was mine, even though it restored everything and built. So,
Sometimes it doesn't make a ton of sense. I'm not sure if it was in my stream, but I was trying to find, the word arsenal. I was thinking about, where you worked, and I know you worked, for a government entity, but it's like, what was the name of it?
a Rocky Mountain Arsenal. But
Mountain
yeah,
Arsenal.
it's no, well, I don't know. It's not really a government entity anymore. It's been demilitarized, and now it's the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge. And so the main operators of it are Shell, and then we do have
Oh,
some
like
government
the oil company
entities.
Shell?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
oil, pesticides, etc.
And apparently nature reserves.
Major reserves, is that what you said?
Nature
Nature, yes.
reserves.
Well, it was because the original thing that happened at the arsenal was first the army built a military base on it where they constructed chemical weapons, and then they didn't use them, so they needed to dispose of them, which they did by burying them underground, which caused a lot of issues. They're like, the earth will process it, and eventually they'll safely
See,
get
it doesn't
cleaned up.
exist, right?
Well, no. It was actually a safe practice, and it was proven
Okay.
to be true. But
Hmm.
then they demilitarized part of the arsenal, sold it to Shell. Shell built a plant on it to create pesticides, and
Hmm.
they supposedly weren't disposing of the chemical waste correctly. So it's getting into the water, into the soil, and so mix that with the chemical weapon stuff, and we have a Superfund issue where Environmental Protection Agency is like, that needs to get cleaned up ASAP, post ACE. Do it now or die.
Kind of sounds like a good idea to not have chemical weapons around in the ground.
Yeah, but I mean,
Especially if it's not like a protected military area anymore. It's like if you
well,
just
I
know
mean,
what
they're all
amount
gone.
it
They're
is,
all
go
taken
and
care
get
of.
some. Just they've been removed at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the cleanup process started in like 1998 or 95, something like that.
And that was before it got demilitarized.
Yeah.
I hope.
Or
Otherwise,
I
it's
guess
like,
that's when it
if
was
you know
finished.
which mound is filled with chemical weapons,
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
looking. Just go out there in the evening with a shovel.
Yeah. But watch out for unexploded ordnance.
Yeah, or that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Just don't want to find it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I need secrets.
If it's an actual ED that someone just buried. If that the government buried.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
What's happening with the login?
I didn't have secrets, so I was trying to use local DB.
So.
And so now I'm gonna right click on this, go to user secrets because I trust your whatchamacallit.
If it's installed, it wasn't. Apparently.
It's not installed in this browser. Anyway, that doesn't really matter because my password is not visible in that. The SendGrid
I didn't
key
see
is.
anything.
Great. So I need to reset my SendGrid key. I am using Visual Studio Professional when I'm doing this application, and apparently I didn't install Nodox in VS Professional. That's great.
I love how I started saying as long as it's installed.
Yeah, it's installed in Visual Studio Community.
Yeah.
Some Nodox. Okay,
Are you using the Blossom extension, by the way?
The Blossom?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
From
BLOSSOM?
No, ASAZM. BLAZM. There you go.
What is
It's from Jimmy Engstrom.
Oh, this is cool.
A bunch of small helpers.
Yeah, like I don't really right click on files or to create new files, but I'm sure it would be helpful. I use F2.
It's like if you want to create an isolated CSS, how would you do that?
Like the way that I create isolated CSS is, let's say I wanted to put one on here, error.razor. And the thing is that I use Sass. So
okay. It also has a right-click .NET Watch option.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Well,
I think it has
a lot of people use Sass
that aren't in the Solution Explorer. If you scroll down a little bit, I think it also has like extract a component and stuff. Move namespaces, extract to. Yeah, find component usages where it's used, and it also has a Blazor route list. We can get a list of, so this address goes to this page without needing to look around.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool. That's very cool. Ooh. B-unit test generation. Oh man, I wonder if he actually worked with Eagle on that. That'd be cool.
It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah. Super cool stuff. Okay.
Me, him, and Eagle had a beer last time we met, so
awesome.
Eagle is a really nice guy, by the way.
I can imagine. Like in chats, and of course on his own stream when he used to stream, he was always very, very upstanding.
Yeah. And just in case anyone's wondering, now I'm gonna do a quick plug. Jimmy Engstrom has also written the only Blazor book with a raccoon on the cover. Bioremediation. Is that when the ground just nom nom chemical weapons nom nom nom?
The remediation thing? The
Or is that when you
remediation is
dig it up
actually
and...
when you do the cleanup. So like
Okay.
they took all of the irradiated soil, moved it out somewhere safe so that it could just radiate and get cleaned up. Brought in
Yeah.
new soil, repopulated the animal and the flora and fauna essentially, and they're constantly monitoring it. And that's what these apps are for monitoring the flora and fauna and the water quality.
No, it's an actual raccoon. He's crazy about raccoons for some reason. He wants one as a pet, but we're not allowed to have them.
Welcome back to you, Jamie. Yes. So on Monday, we will be doing Blazor, I hope. I plan on having the rest of the work items entered into, what's it called? GitHub issues, so that we can actually do coding on Monday. Why aren't you running?
So we're going to do bot dev today or Arsenal work?
Arsenal work. Well, this is still part of the community day because I want to talk about if this is an appropriate place to use event sourcing.
Yeah. I was just thinking of the
really
name
topic.
of the stream is day 19 of the bot remake.
Because it is.
Then we're not going to do Arsenal. We're just looking at Arsenal right now.
Yeah, we're using Arsenal as part of the community day topic, but then I will be in waiting room. I'm pulling you in 3, 2. Oh, too fast.
Yeah.
Mic check.
Long time no here, TBD.
Hello again.
Yes.
Hello.
Perfect levels. Listen to you, pro streamer.
Did you have a good 3 hours?
Yeah,
2
yeah,
hours.
it was a lot of fun. No, it's 3 hours there. Well, 3.5, I think I ended up at.
You're sorry.
Yeah,
I thought he was asking about the time between.
Oh, 2 hours in between. I've actually just I sat here, got some food, tinkered with some code and stuff. So I haven't really moved very far. I just couldn't stream anymore once because I had to be able to take the dogs out. Get in trouble sitting around on my computer all day without ability to walk the dogs.
Yeah, I just approved a couple of pull requests.
Cool.
And rejected one as well. Well, sent one back with comments.
Ejected.
Yes. Now, if you never do that, then people don't think you're doing your job. So you have to have 1 out of 10 random ones just rejected.
That's quite the method.
Yeah. I don't know. My boss makes me do all the pull request reviews.
Because you do them well.
It's a tough boss.
Case.
Say again?
Tough boss.
It's because I am a boss. Okay. So here's the situation. We have records in the database, and this is going to be very contrived, like I said. We have records in the database that have a total gallons value stored as a field, manually entered. Well, it's calculated by the app, but then if the user enters records in between two, it doesn't recalculate correctly. So anyway, point is, there are a bunch of records whose total gallons does not match what the calculated total gallons is between two records. So for example, this one in particular, the current record says that the total gallons is 1,104,092, and not total gallons, meter reading, and the previous was 175,000. And then there's a difference of 1 between what's entered in the database and what is actually calculated. So I'm asking the user, which one do you want to keep? Since these records are finalized, I want to keep track of the current total gallons in the database, because they're going to choose override the calculation or update the total gallons to match the calculated value. So if they choose this one, I want to keep track of what the original value was. and the date that change was made. So to me, that's as easy as an audit table. That said,
Only ever going
how would
to be
event sourcing
one
work here?
record that needs to be tracked. I would actually put that in the table.
Wait,
Just
say
called
again?
adjusted value or something. If it's
So-
only going to be, calculated value or reported value more or less, and you pick one of those, I would call that, just add another column called adjusted value or final value or
Would be
something.
nice if there wasn't a possibility of there being more. So let's say let's say we have a whole bunch of pending records right now. And so they fix the value. They say, all right, I want to go with the my value or the calculated value. So I record what they had as the value and then update it to the calculated value. They finalize some records. It gets inserted in between. And so now the total gallons is wrong again.
Okay.
And so they have to do
And
it
you
again.
want to always keep track of all of the history. Gotcha.
So if you're using events for that, so every reading would be an event, right? So reading taken, a date, time, like what the value was.
Every single one of these records.
Yeah, so you could save the readings underneath the final entries, if that makes sense, and use that as your history. So I'm not sure, like, if the system makes 12 readings, then that ends up underneath one entry. And then that sums up.
But I'm asking
And then you
more
can
about
have like a manual adjustment entry or something as well.
the thing
make
that I'm
sense?
wanting to talk about with this scenario is not how to structure my database for tracking the readings. It's how do I apply event sourcing to this scenario?
Okay.
And is it appropriate to use it? And so that's what TBD was starting to head to.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine.
I don't know if, because the audit history matters here, right? Like you can see all these values. If you were doing it as an event source, so if the meter had a current reading, right, and you applied the event, so let's say record 1, the meter reading was 1 on Monday, and then you had another meter reading on Thursday and the record was 500, but then they realized there was another meter reading in between, they injected it and said, okay, well actually it was 300 on Tuesday, then that'd be hard to rectify in the event stream, right? Because it's not
Okay.
it's because it now doesn't become 300, it actually was 300 at a point in time. So because you need those point in time references all the time, then event streams might not be the best source for that. So what you're doing now is probably fits better.
Okay. Even
you
if
were
I'm
doing-
only looking at one record.
Yeah, because the current state is the last record entered, whether it was an adjustment or not. It's kind of the last record set was the current state, right?
Kinda. I mean, like, these are still relevant records. So look at A. I don't have a way to filter this, which is a work item.
Yeah.
But if you look at A specifically, you can see that it's a constantly increasing number because water flow only increases.
Yeah.
We don't ever take water in, I guess, unless something fails, which would be terrible. Anyway, so water always flows out. It's an increasing number of gallons that are flowing through.
Mhm.
And so at this point in time, like you said, this meter reading says 112 million, but let's
Yeah.
say that they just now finalized a record that was on the 22nd and it's
Right.
114 million. Then the total gallons for this record would be wrong because it's comparing this number to this number as opposed to this number to the new record. So the change happens to this record, or sorry, this one. Change happens to this record, and that maybe they want to undo that is the point. So they say I erroneously said use the calculated value when I wanted it to keep the original value, and I don't know what that original value was.
Right. So I mean, you could wind back to the point in time,
Yeah,
and then add that
kind of thing.
record, and then
Right.
resume your event stream from that point. Kind of like Git, right? You
Mhm.
kind of resume the event stream from that point. You could use it that way, and then you've got a tracked history of the adjustments, etc., that go on. if you needed to override it at any point, you could potentially interject a override as an event that happened on that stream of data. But then you could look at the meter and say, what's it currently look like, right? How many gallons, based upon its state, and then that value is never stored. It can be stored as a snapshot record.
Okay.
So you could actually have a snapshot of the data at a point in time, and then resume events from there, when you're playing back. So if you have a million events, you don't want to keep reading your database a million times to get the current state.
Exactly.
So what you do is you choose a point in time, say snapshot, and then you store that record, and then you play back events from that point in time. You don't lose that history, but you don't have to keep reading it. And that's why Event Store DB is built to do that as quickly as possible.
Okay. And that's what seems backwards to me. It's like what I would want is for this record to always be the latest. So this would be the snapshot, and then the events would tell me how to roll back if needed.
Right. You could do that.
Gave me a horrible idea. That's a really bad one.
Uh-oh.
Make all the entries actually into JSON documents and commit them to Git.
No thanks. So Thindol, I'm asking seriously, man. I'm asking seriously. I want to know.
That being said, the event stream itself, if you're using a SQL database, would be a stream of JSON data, right? Because the events would be serialized data that you have to deserialize and apply to the object. So when you load up an object, you say, okay, go and get me the events. Now apply them in the right order to the object, because then it calculates its current state.
But then there is a thing called an event DB store.
Yeah, event store DB.
Store DB.
Yeah.
What does that do? What does that look like?
So that's a database product built specifically for this purpose. So Greg Young is kind of the guy that first put this into play. He also is responsible for CQRS as well, by the way, Greg Young. He kind of took the original concepts. I think who did CQS? Someone else came up with CQS a long time ago, and Greg Young kind of added a little bit more to it and called it CQRS. And then, so this all stems from that. So the stuff I use on stream, the mediator stuff, fits nicely with CQS, and they all kind of work into each other. But Greg Young is one of the first people I heard talking about CQRS, and then Bertrand Meyer, there you go. So it's been around a while. But then he kind of came around with this event sourcing concept. And again, I don't know if it's necessarily original from him, but he definitely was one of the first people I heard speaking about it a lot. The idea is that you don't have to just store the current value in the database. If you need to know how you got there, or you need to look back and reapply things, then but you always start from the root, right? So you start your snapshot and apply the events on top. You don't necessarily go backwards through your events.
Right.
You basically start at the base and add on top.
Yeah. So this scenario doesn't really seem like it's a good application for that, since we're updating a record pretty much every week.
Yeah.
Or not even updating a record, adding a record.
Yeah.
So with a date timestamp and
the audit history makes more sense here, right?
Yeah.
The current meter reading is a stored value anyway. So
then here's the second.
Consider something like time series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, would that fit?
I mean, yeah. So like this, all of this data here gets translated to water.army-cloud.com. A chart, and this is what really mattered with the whole tracking well number changes, and that was the other major, I'm calling them contrived, but they are real world scenarios because I have to deal with them. But I'm sure that it would do better if I had event sourcing or something. But you said event sourcing doesn't really deal with points in time, it's just order of things that happened, right?
Yeah, you're not often using the points in time as far as I've seen so far. It's more here's the current state of the object, and here's how it got there. I mean, you could display the events. There's nothing stopping you from doing it as an audit trail, I suppose. I'm just looking up. I was kind of curious as to how other people approach this, because there's lots of different ways people actually design their systems to do this. I found at least 4 different implementations using different approaches. But like this one article I found on C# Corner was auditability, the complete history of changes. So that is kind of what you want. Temporal queries, eventual consistency. So in my world, if I'm distributing the data, let's say I was publishing an event rather than actually storing the data, then using those events to replay the objects back.
Right.
Improve scalability again. Yeah, you could.
I honestly don't see how, because it's like that means that every time that you're querying for that data to get the latest, you have to get the current record and then apply all these changes to it, and then you can send that back, as opposed to just give me back the existing record, since that's the thing that happens in most cases.
Yeah, and that's why the snapshot is useful, right? So
right.
Again, I've chosen not to use event sourcing for anything I'm doing right now, because I don't think it fits my use case exactly, right? To me, it makes sense. I've got this data, store it, publish an event that it happened. Most of my system is built around the concept of I need to know that things happened, right? I need to be able to tell people things happened. So the ability to say what it was before or not is only a calculated thing from my perspective.
So then here are 2 more situations. This one is simple, which is I have a table that shows they can only edit one of the values, and as they're editing it, then it says you have a change, but I don't currently have an undo button, but you have a change from this value. Save it or don't save it. And so what I would want is an undo button. So let's say they make a change to this one and then a change to this one, but they don't want to save this last one. They want to undo. Control Z, which undo works to a point with Control Z, but like this one didn't reset.
So you could inherit from your DTO in the in the Blazor component here, and add another field, which is no original value.
Right. Well, I clone the entire object currently and just compare which fields have changed. But yeah.
But you could store them as a stream of changes.
Exactly. So the next thing is they change it to 64, but then they change it to 59, which I can't do.
And they will know that was 64 before that.
Right.
And then
they can undo and undo and undo.
Gotcha.
So that makes sense to me. Go ahead, TPD.
I was going to say that's actually a useful case if you need to be able to backtrack through. You could make a set of changes on the client and then say, yep, apply the change set, or revert back to a certain point is kind of useful. So pattern still works.
That's the thing that confused me when you were describing it on your stream. I think you were talking about how you make a change to a field and that somehow gets sent to the server already. And then you log an event and then make another change.
Yeah, so in my stuff, what I'm doing is, because again, if you look at things like Jira and stuff, you can go and change different fields, right? You don't have a save button appear. You can change any field. So being that I don't want to have I'll commit in a second, when you blur out the field, I send the change up to the server. So I send the current state of the object. I could send the changes if I was trying to do it that way and apply the changes. That wouldn't actually be too hard to figure out. But what I do is I just send the current state of the object up to the server and then apply that state. And then I publish an event to the larger system to say, yep, this thing changed. Here's its current state now. So if you make 5 changes, I'm going to actually publish 5 events, which might be kind of wasteful.
Yeah, so imagine this form here with all of these fields. Let me load one in. Let's say this record. I guess it only has 2 records. But anyway, a whole bunch of fields in here. These can be changed ad hoc. So if I wanted to add undo to this, then event sourcing would make sense for this type of a form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that does make
Di-
sense.
Digital representations of paper forms scare me.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
So I
look at
was
this.
Could you have not done something better?
It's
Yeah.
like it goes directly from this to the form that they send to the lab with all of these samples, and it's like we could have done this in a more data entry centric kind of way than just this ugly.
Just because the form ends up being printed in a certain manner doesn't mean you have to make the UI
Yeah.
look like the form.
But I haven't redesigned it very much at all, so I'm just like, I'll do whatever you guys want. This one is another instance. This is the second instance of should I use event sourcing with the database records? And I think the answer is no, because again, we're not trying to use event sourcing to be able to backtrack through time when I'm pulling data. So each system, Performance Charts First Creek Down Gradient is the full system, has wells in them. And sometimes those wells break down and need to be replaced with other wells. That's what this entire UI is for. I can add, I can remove wells from the system, whatever. But when I query those, when I display those on reports, First Creek, Down Gradient, I need to display, what is it called? Children. I need to display the values for a well, even if it was replaced, as if the replaced well is the same as the well that did the replacing, but only for that given time span. So again, could I use event sourcing for this? What would it look like? I kind of know what the answer is.
I mean, again, the thing represented is still the same object. So you can, I suppose, you can separate the concepts, right? The act of having the audit table doesn't mean that you can't have the event sourcing. I just don't think it adds much value in these scenarios because the audit is pretty much mostly what you want to see, right? So I think it would be a bit contrived to try and put a event source around that process. But
it's my favorite word of the day. Contrived.
Yeah. So I mean, again, auditability, great, but I think you have to embrace that idea of there doesn't have to be one database as well if you want to do that. So in my system, if I make a change, I could store an event sourced version of the object, right? I could store the planning item. I could store as a stream of events, right? This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. But then I publish the event and I calculate the current state, and that's what I publish as the integration event. So my view gets the current state that's calculated, but I actually can, if I wanted to, revert to a certain point in time. So I could say, okay, actually the planning item's bad. I want to go back to last month and undo that change history, and that would be doable because then I'd actually be able to make an explicit undo action in the UI and say, okay, I want to revert back to this date, and it would go back to the events that make up that object and say, okay, revert back to this point, and also now publish an integration event, which now says here's the current state of the object. So the rest of the system could actually store that current state again, because again, once I publish the integration event, the integration event is here's the truth of this object. So you could embrace it. You'd have to potentially move into a more distributed system to do it there.
Did I understand you correctly then that the actual revert action is a new event?
Yeah.
Not like you Control Z and then you erase all of the other steps, all of the other events.
I mean, it could be. You could make it a point, like you could do that. You can say, okay, go and take this state, or you could just say, okay, actually eradicate all the steps that came up into this after this date, and then remove them, because they're not the truth anymore, right? I mean, they're the truth
correct.
of what happened. So you could attempt it from both ways. You could say, okay, actually go and get the state as it was on this date, and apply that state. Now here you go. Here's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then you've got an event that adjusts to be that. So you actually can still tell the truth of what happened. But you might want to snapshot it at that point, because otherwise you're going to play back all the events that came after for no reason.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's so, like, I was just thinking of the instance of Git, like the way that you could do your branching strategy, which is you don't ever like revert to a branch and then destroy the rest of the commits. You revert and then you commit that as a new commit on top of everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're trying to retrieve objects and then you're going to replay everything just to replay a step that goes back to one that was maybe 200 events ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's fun. Well, I think you have clarified it very, very much for me, and hopefully for everyone else. So thank you so much for that.
No worries. Yeah, because this isn't something I've necessarily done a lot of, because it's hard to find the use cases, especially with the stuff I'm doing right now. Like, it doesn't matter. One use case I might have for this would be potentially my games, right, where I care
Save
about
states and stuff.
Yeah, or knowing, being able to track back and see when things change, etc., might be useful for me. I actually store the pricing.
Replays
yeah, but I store also for just the data that I store on my game collection. I store the state of them, and being able to apply the state and being able to transition and tracking the pricing and things like that is kind of useful. But again, it'd be a little bit from the top of my head right now, it'd be a little bit contrived to do that.
Yeah, but I definitely have a use case. I'm going to be using it in my UI stuff that has data entry forms where you're modifying records, and I am currently doing change tracking on it. But the change tracking models are, when you make the clone, I have a change tracker that gets put on top of it, which compares each field to itself, to the previous version of the field. So original dot equals this dot, or doesn't equal. But that's really hard to do with lists. That's really hard to do with complex objects, because then it's like, how do you compare the fields of the complex object, but more reflection or whatever else? Not fun. So it does sound better if I just track events that happen to this object, and if there are events in the list of events, then it has changes. As easy as that.
Pretty much.
I like that a lot. Okay, so that topic is over.
I have nothing to add, which is why I'll be so quiet.
Well, Jamie asked a question. Maybe you can respond to that. Or is it multiple questions or just one? Do you think it should be a priority to get certified in one of those cloud platforms? One of those cloud platforms. I'm aware since you use .NET, there is a good chance you interact with Azure. I use AWS a bit, but do you think, based on your experience, it would be necessary based on your work and adding competitive edge to yourself? Would it be necessary? And then next random question, would you consider yourself a mid or senior developer? And what could you use to justify your response? So take any of those questions you want in any order.
First one, do you need to get certified? Short answer, no. Long answer, if your employer requires it. There are some programs that your company can be a part of that requires you to have X amount of certified employees. It doesn't hurt, but it's not worth basically anything for you as a person and employability. The certs themselves are very crammy. It's like, here's info, remember this info, and then there's a test. Like, what is the bit alignment of this type? And it's like, I don't care. But for some reason you need to know it. So I'd say for you, no. If a company requires it, sure.
So then what about the topic of the competitive edge?
Yeah, it's not going to give you any. No.
So
that's such a tiny thing.
Are you
if
sure?
Your company wants you to do it, it's a lot of money for you, but it's tiny investment for a company. It's what, $1,000 or something with the with the books, maybe a little bit more.
I mean,
You
depending
spending
on how much of the
$1,000 on
training
it?
you do. Like
Yeah.
I spent,
Yeah,
or
if you get the
I
books
did my.
and get the test, I think it's around 1,000.
Oh, yeah, I don't know the cloud certification ones, but I did my AZ204 and I got that for free using the build challenge, which they're no longer doing. So I got a free certification exam for that, but that exam was $190 or something like that.
Mhm.
And then if you wanted to take Cert Master and stuff like that, then you add another 90 to $100.
Yeah, but the books are freaking expensive. And still, I mean, $200 for you will feel that money.
Yeah.
But your employer won't. For your employer, it's peanuts. Because company money is an entirely different realm. You can't compare it to personal money, if that makes sense. On the other question, I'm not sure. I would consider myself senior by now, but that's because I'm old. I'm not that old. I was trying to be funny. It failed horribly, apparently.
You're younger than me, which makes me ancient. If you're
No, that's a.
No.
Why does age align to seniority as a
yeah,
developer?
seriously.
Yeah,
That was what the
it
ooh was
doesn't
for.
whatsoever.
Come
It
on.
doesn't at all. If anything, I think
My
the fact
employer
that I
won't
tend
feel
to
it.
become the technical, the person you go to ask technical questions in a team turns me into a senior.
Yeah.
And I had one of the best comments I've had was at my last project, my last employer. Well, I'm a solo consultant, but sure, last customer. That was one of the other developers said I should write more bugs so we could pair program more because I always learned so much.
That's an awesome.
And I remember that one. That one, I felt that one. That felt good. So getting that kind of comments means you're probably a senior dev by that point.
I will add, by the way, on the whole cloud thing. I know that we've kind of determined that Jamie's probably not in the chat, but it is still worth sharing.
It's still worth talking about, yeah.
I can't share this on my stream because my colleagues watch my stream. But
and they're not here.
As someone who has recently been looking for roles in the .NET world, right? The number of roles I'm finding now, again, I'm looking more senior developer stuff, architect stuff.
The actual title
anyway.
has the word
Right.
senior in it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at higher stuff, but it's still there's so many jobs do include requirements for cloud experience these days.
Oh yeah, experience definitely.
Pretty much. So that's why I'm adding. I mean, certification. I don't know about certification, but experience definitely, demonstrable ability to use cloud resources effectively is something that I am sorely lacking and very afraid of at this point. Because I don't quite know how to make up that gap exactly, right?
Well, now that you said it, a certification could make up that gap. It could show that you have experience in cloud.
Barely. It's just cramming info. It has nothing to do with
very
actually
much
being
is.
able to use it.
Now, if I can deploy my application to the cloud, I might be very poor.
Yeah.
Because it's going to
actually, you might not be.
fortune.
I mean, well, I don't know.
You have
Liquid
a
Sky,
company.
you might be.
Do you have a company, TBD?
Do I have a company? No.
Like your own
Have you
LLC
registered a company?
or whatever?
No, I do not.
No. All right. Because if you do, you can register for something called Microsoft Partner Action Pack.
Gotcha.
That is about
it's
350 US a year.
A year.
And it gives you $1,200 of Azure credits.
Gotcha.
It gives you so much. Not just the Azure credits, but also like the Office 365.
3 studio licenses, 5 seats on Office 365, Windows 10 licenses.
That's how I have my Visual Studio Professional.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
These
but yeah, you could still host most of your stuff for free-ish. Sorry, say again?
Do you know what the difference between community and pro is these days?
Very little. One you're allowed to develop if you make over 100,000 or whatever it is a year.
Yep. It's a licensing issue. That's it. It used to be that community couldn't run extensions.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's also CodeLens that's kind of helpful sometimes. There are the Profiler,
that a
even though
part
the Profiler
in-
and Community is pretty awesome. There's still a few things that you can
Isn't
do in
CodeLens
Community.
in Community?
Not the same. So here is Finance Man. And so all you get is...
And you can't see who changed it.
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
only
You don't
find
get
records.
blame. You don't get
Mhm.
when the changes were made.
Yeah, you can get that on GitHub though.
Yeah.
But
Doesn't
all
really
right,
matter
so
what
it's a
you get
little
out of
bit there, but in general, doesn't make any difference.
Visual Studio? Huh? What?
Funny. So how is that issue treating you with the bin and obj folders being locked up?
Well, that was my own idiotic fault. That wasn't.
Oh no!
I had the,
Dang it!
I
I
had
was
the
gonna
app. I had
blame
the
Ryder.
app. I had the app running, and I don't know why it was running.
Oh.
So
I
it's
still
like
blame
I'd,
Ryder for not telling you that
like-
the app was still
yeah.
running.
Yeah, right.
It's like Ryder had orphaned them. I must have shut it down and not told it to terminate or something like that.
But that used to happen
So-
all the time. Like if you use IIS Express, and you still
Mhm.
had the server running, and even though you stopped the app, the server could still be running.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
I don't know why
Good
though. It's not a
times.
feature at this point to say, oh, by the way, these apps are running, and the exes that are running in this directory that you're trying to replace.
Mhm,
Do you want to
mhm,
kill them now? Like,
mhm.
I'm not trying to build because it's funny. I'm not trying to like. Yeah,
I'm
I
building
clearly
because
don't
I
want to be
enjoy
running
building.
them.
Let's do it.
General, Windows knows at some level which process has the file locked, right? Or it should
Yep.
at least.
Yep.
So why not show that when you try to delete the folder, no matter what you're doing? Instead of like, an application is
At least
using
have a
this folder,
details
and you
button.
can't delete it. Yeah, exactly.
So
There's
the people
no,
that don't care.
yeah, for me, I don't think there's any instance where I get that error and I don't care about what's locking it.
Mhm. Yeah, like that.
That's fun. So I have
Like
.NET Watch.
the area you've got running.
Yeah. But I know where mine is. And if I close this, then .NET Watch stops.
What it was is I tried to run it and didn't realize, and complained about it, and then I chose to stream and talk in Discord at the same time. So it was like, now we're going to make you look like an absolute
Blinders.
idiot. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing.
Good times.
I have to step away for a minute. I'll be back shortly.
Okay. So yeah, anything more to add to the questions?
I mean, the
Like-
big one is, how do you know if you're a
Seniority.
senior dev or not? You never answered from your side, I think.
Oh yeah, I sure didn't. Before I do, a question asked before that was Mojo saying I assigned myself on a task on financial management. 2 questions. Can I stream? Of course you can. The work on that task. And 2, if yes, is there anywhere I would need to know docs? Nope, not at all. Not at all. Everything on it can use local DB and just use Windows credentials when you run the migration. Words. Okay, so then for me, I don't really consider certifications very important, but the consulting firm I used to work at does. They have a 100% certification per quarter kind of thing going on, and you get awards if you get certified in that quarter, and you're one of the first 200 people too. So dumb.
But I'm assuming
Sure.
they also pay for it.
No. I mean, you could get
They don't.
reimbursed. They give you $10,000 a year for education, but if you do use any of that money, you're pretty much signing up for, I am going to stay with this company for 1 year. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pay whatever prorated amount.
Yeah.
But
We
it was
have
still
kind
cool.
of
I mean,
the
it's
same with the vacation here, where you get access to the full amount of yearly PTO on day 1. But if you quit within 5 years, you have to pay it back.
Hmm.
If you get fired within 5 years, it's up to the company. But if you quit,
right.
it's up to you.
Yeah. We used to have, it's called 3 Rs in government. human resources, recruitment incentive, retention incentive, and whatever the third R is. Retention.
Call it a retention incentive, more of like a retention stick. It's not so much carrot, it's like do this or give us money. 1 second, I can hear you, but I'm gonna run off and grab myself a Red Bull.
Cool. I will read Zeph's question. And Zeph is, what's the purpose of this code? I don't really know what I'm looking at, but in this tab, in this specific tab. So this is the financial management tracker. This is the application that we work on during normal streams, Mondays and Wednesdays. Today is Friday, which is a community day on this channel. And so we have people come into Discord, chat us up, talk about whatever topics they want to talk about, although I kind of hijacked it today and started talking about event sourcing because I was really interested in it and I thought I had a grasp on where I might want to use it. So that got clarified. I do post all of these videos to YouTube. If you're interested in seeing the project from the beginning, feel free to check out the YouTube channel. It's in a playlist called P01 Blazor Financial Management Tracker. Something like that.
You are also part of the community.
Yes.
You can't hijack the community hangout because you are also a part of the community, right?
But I like it when you guys direct the conversation so that it doesn't just feel like any other stream.
Well, man.
But it was a really good topic. I really enjoyed hearing it on TBD stream and then being able to continue it here. I like that a lot.
Yeah, you kind of left me behind there because I don't really have any experience with it.
Yeah.
And I decided to maybe not be in poo-poo. Try and be funny.
I don't mind the trying to be funny, but I really, really wanted the information for it. I'm like, I don't want fluff. I want the information. Give me.
Yeah. It's like, we want a history of the changes. Like, let's put it in source control.
Yeah.
It's dumb, but
just put your cat face in source control. Perfect. Sold. Yep. I mean, like, oh man. So the table, where is it? You there? The table that these records are for. Nope. Nope. They shouldn't have named those two URLs too close together. One is water, the other is Waterman. The table that these records come from has... Oh, I don't even want to guess. I'm just going to do a query on it real quick. Treatment plants, tables, table TP plant flows, select. Select count star from table 792,000 records. And that's only one of the 4 tables.
Yeah, but that's not that many.
It isn't that many, except that we need to aggregate all of those records in this app. That was the other thing. There was the term aggregate being used in the event sourcing conversation, and I was like, I'm aggregating stuff, but I'm doing things like summing the total amount of water moved, for example, through a system from this date to this date. And so, oops, let's look at this one. So I'm looking at doing averages, gallons per minute, total gallons, all of that stuff. So you're saying aggregate. Does that mean that it works for me to use event sources? But anyway, it's all cleared up now. It's all good. It's all gravy. Was there anything else? I don't think there was anything else on that. I'm just going to keep chugging away at this. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I love making tools with this UI tool for giving them a way to see the discrepancies. So the original thing that happened was there was this really big spike
Oh.
in water levels, and they're like, what's going on? And then we found out that there was water levels where the rollover, which means that the previous reading was higher than the current reading, which means that we started back at 0. That's what it's supposed to mean. And then we add the rollover so that we can get the true total gallons. Anyway, so that's not
like those stock charts, you know? Where you have the
these.
spread. Yeah.
Yeah, these are annoying. I hate the charts in
But
this
I mean,
system.
you have the sale price and the buy price. The low and the high. I think.
Oh, yeah,
stock
kinda.
charts.
Yeah. I forget what this is called. A range chart? I don't know. I-beam chart. But yeah, so it was just kind of like they noticed this thing and they're like, okay, well, let's look at those records in this system. And then we found out. Wait, yes, I want to move away. We found out that the records for on a specific date were calculated using a different previous date, and there was no intermediary record because those intermediary records got added after the fact. And yeah, just caused lots of issues. So now I'm giving them this little checkbox, and I will give them filters on here so that they can say, I only want to see the ones for adsorbers B on North Boundary. They get to pick which one they want to keep. This sets a flag that says, don't calculate the value for this one. I purposefully told it to be 0 because we are resetting, because it was broken, because whatever. Yeah.
Just inject something random.
Yeah. We're done talking about the other stuff.
Bring up the console in a Maui hybrid app.
You still have
like
12, so you need or wait, I guess, what are you running on?
I'm running on Windows.
Okay, so yes, you would still use F12, but you have to make sure that the UI has the focus inside of the Blazor web view. I'm assuming you mean you're using Blazor web view, right?
Yeah. The issue is I'm getting an unhandled error right away. I can F5 it, and that works. I can't F12 it.
Do you have in your Maui program.cs add Blazor Web Developer Tools?
I do not. Builder services and Blazor Web. All right. Builder.
You need bigger?
Yes. And Blazor Web View Developer Tools. That might help. Feels like something that might help at least. Let me
I hope
try
so.
this again.
I hope it's that easy. Let's see if I can actually build.
Well, it feels like it might be a developer tool for the Blazor Web View that I'm missing, so...
Yeah, but if this wasn't on, F12 would just do nothing.
Yep, and nothing is what it did, but now it works.
Yay!
Thank you very, very much.
Awesome. That's cool that it was that easy. I'm happy. I'm very happy. Dang, you guys made me drink my water so fast. Let me set that down. I need it to last. I like Dukasoft Bot's popcorn every time someone comes in. Grab some popcorn. Just offers popcorn to everyone. Because this stream is about to get salty. What? Let's talk about opinions now, Pendle. I'm sure you have some.
I always have. I'm just writing a message to Sam over at Telric.
Oh,
real
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
I will
Don't let
be
me
with
interrupt
you in 3 minutes.
Cool. Sounds good. Salty. Was there any other chat that I actually missed? What I really want to do is set up feature chat or something that I can just click on chats as they come in as I see them so that I don't miss them. Because like I missed Mojo's first message and then, or question message, and then I missed Jamie's. And then when I saw Jamie's, we were in the middle of the event sourcing conversation. I should have at least acknowledged him. and now he's gone. I will let him know that the VOD is posted, or will be posted. I just got to make sure that I take the VOD down first, download it, and then mask out the flippin' user secret. Speaking of, I'm going to close Visual Studio so all this stuff can install.
I'm back, by the way.
Welcome back.
Back TBD.
I came back just to hear, do you have any opinions? Like,
Yes.
I have lots of opinions.
On what specifically? Let's
on
start
everything.
on anything.
Not an opinion, but I will say that I did. You were talking about keeping track of chat.
Oh, yes.
I will say I found that much harder because I don't like to interrupt people. So when people are talking, I don't like to cut them off. It's definitely a challenge. But then keeping track of conversations in the chat and talking at the same time and not wanting to end a conversation prematurely, that I gained a new respect for that today.
Yeah.
So well done for doing this every Friday.
Yeah, that one I have no problem. It's the actual reading part that I fail to do because I already struggle to read as it is. And so when I have audio input, then it's harder for me to read. But at the same time, I can read and listen to our current conversation and respond to the question, or at least with a thank you for your question. We'll get to that very soon. And I didn't even do that with Jamie's because I didn't see chat. Oh, I know what it was. I was busy trying to log into SendGrid so that I can reset the key.
Yeah, so and they shut down featured chat, which is
they
annoying.
Did?
Yeah, they shut it down because that was developed by what's his name? Yeah, Slevin
This
Thevin. Yeah,
should be a temporary thing.
Yeah, they had a disagreement over who owned it or whatever, I think, or who was responsible for maintaining it or something. I think. So they shut it down. That's been gone for a long time now.
That's sad because that's the one that I had set up.
Yeah, but that does like Mr. Anhorn kind of suggested if I got questions and stuff today. We didn't end up on too many direct questions, which was, but to put it into the Discord channel, I was like, okay, that kind of works, but having someone to track it would be some way of saying,
I just don't want to put that on anyone.
Yeah, well, you have mods in your stream normally.
I have.
I rarely have a mod.
Dukasoft is the only one that's in here, and I really don't want to put so much on him. He's already doing so much for the stream.
Yeah, I think I've only got. I modded Cetalix so that he could ban Deflux, and I modded Code with Sean. And I think the only other one I had modded was Ancient Coder, but Ancient Coder doesn't.
Wait, is Deflux actually banned from your stream?
No, I just gave him the ability to just bounce him.
Just to do it.
It's just a good troll of Deflux.
Just remember, timeout is better than ban when you're playing around, because when people have shared ban lists, the person will be banned in that other person's stream, even if you unban them.
Yeah, yesterday coming into my stream, Hexic, coming with Beegs, I think it was yesterday, had been playing around in Temptix chat and got banned by the bot. So then came into my chat, and it took ages before they could talk in my chat because the shared ban list I shared with the Temptic was in place. So that was no fun.
It sounds fun. Wait, I mean, not fun.
Well, someone thinks they're talking, and then none of their text is getting through because it's saying you're banned.
Yeah, and we saw one person that came in that was on someone else's ban list, and I think it was Irish Jones, but they were chatting normally, and I was gonna respond to them, but it was during a community day, I think, and I wasn't able to respond to them right away, and then they raged, and then Dukasoft banned them from, or like just deleted all their messages so they couldn't post in our chat anymore, which I'm really grateful for. But they went into our Discord and then started raging there.
Oh, was that okay?
Yeah.
I
was
remember
like,
the
okay,
event. I don't remember
yeah.
the specifics. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds very familiar. That sounds like NI. Anyway, I did want to read this off, which is President Not Sure was actually responding while we were talking with Jamie, or responding to Jamie's question, even though Jamie isn't here. Don't try to give yourself a competitive edge in an area that you don't have interest in. That's there's a lot of stuff to learn and do in tech. Better to build expertise in the areas you want to work in and ultimately find a position contract using skills that interest you, rather than learn stuff you think that people want you to know. I agree with that to an extent. If you happen to have found positions that are more prevalent, that are in technologies that you aren't really all that interested in, but you are, let's say you're the type of person that's like, I just need a job, I need to start getting paid for the work I do, then you might want to pick up those skills to gain
That's
the
a good
competitive
point.
edge.
Having passion helps you learn, but if you need some stuff to help to get you a job and the job comes first, then yeah, that's a tough challenge, I suppose.
Agreed. We got a follow. Thank you so much for the follow, Zeph209. Snobble got banned. Snobble said, so you say I made a mistake becoming good at incident management, project management, and migrations. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not saying that.
And I will say you did highlight the fact that you got to code as a thing. So if you love coding, then moving away and doing that stuff is I don't know. Sometimes I worry about the like as an opinionated developer who does like building software, but also thinks that teams need leadership and management. What path my career is taking?
Mm-hmm.
Do I move away from code more and more to try and help teams be productive, or do I
which Mojo is kind of doing?
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy.
All right, I'm alive again.
Welcome back.
Actually, that raises something I was going to ask earlier on about the whole the developers. As a developer, how much? Because it was Mr. Anholm was talking about the planning phase and stuff, and his developers are basically kind of given the work in a couple of sprint chunks. They're not actually involved in all the longer term planning. I always felt that understanding the longer term planning allowed me to understand more about what was coming. Also risked me introducing features that we might not need yet, because obviously you're kind of trying to plan ahead. You've got to be kind of kept on the reins. But what do other people feel about that? Like, in terms of, do you care about what's coming down the line? Or are you happier when you just kind of get into stuff to be worked on in a near term from a planning perspective and just work on that stuff?
First of all, I really, really loved that conversation and where you guys went with that. It was really good because there were many differing opinions. And you're of the mindset that's like, let's keep it near focus. Let's make sure we're talking about the things that are needed now that the users are going to want, not that we think they're going to want. Because I think you said that the pitfall is if you start planning out too far, you're just going to start planning out things that you're not going to need. I mean, you just now said it. So.
Yeah.
And for me,
a different side of the premature optimization coin.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like you're trying to do things they don't need, at least not yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Prepare so it's easy to add it later, but don't start building things that you won't need for a year or less, of course. But
and the thing with me is that my primary function is to think about all of the possibilities and what all of the scenarios might be. So in planning, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be implementing every single feature that you plan out, because that initial planning phase for me is let's think about all the things, because I do that naturally. It just comes to mind when I'm developing a new feature, when I'm fixing a bug. Let's think about all of the other edge cases that we might not have thought about otherwise. But we don't necessarily need to cover all of those cases, because the next step is analyze which of these is actually likely. And then we can decide, all right, we don't need that. We don't need to work on that. Low priority, remove it, whatever. So I'm okay with planning out 10 years.
Here's a
Yeah, but
question
don't
for
start
you.
working on it and be ready to prune it when it's time to start looking at it, or like on the way there.
So
Having
you,
a roadmap that goes pretty far is fine, but don't treat it as a Bible. You have to be able to change it.
yeah, very important. I was going to ask, so you two are contractors, right? You've been in that world where you are contracting.
Yes.
Do you feel that changes your approach to how you do plan and how much time and effort you put into it? Either positively or negatively. I'm not looking for any.
The
my
benefit.
time with a project is usually limited. Not always. I mean, sometimes I have insanely long contracts. I was at one place for 5 years. But sometimes I have, build this, it's for 3 months. But I always try to leave something behind that they can keep working on, or that someone else can keep working on. So it's important to leave documentation, and it's important to not take all the shortcuts just to get this working. We were talking a little bit about beautiful code before, right? So it doesn't need to be beautiful, but it needs to be extensible and modifiable by someone else or me at a later date. Does that make sense? And was that what you asked?
I mean, code discussion.
I mean, like, because in terms of planning, obviously, working at an organization. So I've never worked as a solo contractor in any way, shape, or form. So I've always been employed. So my focus on planning and my focus is to try and make sure that everyone in the team can work on stuff, and that there's enough time spent going through the work as much as possible. And I've worked in the environment where we are literally up against it, doing the stories the day before the sprint starts and trying to jam as much stuff in there. But I'm wondering if it changes your attitude towards how you plan, being that you work on your own.
Right. No. The benefit that I have is that the systems that I am working on are complete. So the only things that we do are bug fixes and maybe improving the way that it currently works. There are very few features that I'm adding, although all of these are new features that are being added because of the need for tracking history and well changes and stuff. But that makes it easy for me to plan work, because it's as bugs arise, or what can I think of for these systems while I was working on it that I would have wanted to improve, instead of just port directly over from the JSP migration to .NET.
You worked with anyone else on this project?
No. I mean, I used
to.
But now
does your bosses have access to this board, for example? Or is this
I gave
just
them
for your own notes?
I was like, hey guys, if you want to make sure that I am doing what I say I'm doing, because I'm all about transparency, integrity, honesty, blah, 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 all the virtues. So I'm like, guys, I'm giving you access to this so you know what I'm currently working on. This could also be a way for you to let me know if something else needs to be more priority, because this has my priorities on it. And yeah, so I gave them the opportunity. It's up to them whether they want to use it or not.
But you don't plan you don't plan with them through this. They basically say, here's what we want. You go and track it yourself. They're not doing anything of that. So you're not sharing a system with them. So this is totally down to you to decide how much detail you want to put in a given item, right?
And that's why I said I kind of have that as a benefit, where I really am guiding work for one.
Yeah.
Based on
my case, I usually end up on the customer system. And the customer system is usually just titles and basically impossible to follow unless you start asking questions. which means you start asking questions. So my job in there is, first of all, tell them to spec it out so I know what the heck they actually want me to do. And estimate time, which is impossible to do properly. You cannot estimate the size of a task. You can guess, but that's not the same thing. At least not according to a customer.
But that's where
And
it's
then
like you need to make sure
working
you
with
talk to them.
branches and connect work items and such. Yeah, you need to have open communication. As soon as you hit
I was going
a
to say, talk
blocker
to
or
them as an
something that's
adult.
going to take time, then make them aware of it. But your initial estimates are never going to be correct unless you're down to, the hour level. But then you hit some kind of problem and it's screwed again.
Everything 6 months, you can only ever deliver. You can only ever or underestimate.
Yeah. We always do. We always think things are going to go easier than they will.
Yeah. And it really is funny. It has to be a law or a principle or something that the more you think a task is going to be easy, the longer it's going to take you, and the more you think it's going to be super hard, the shorter it's going to take you.
Yeah, we've got on several debates in both my Discord and on stream about pointing. I was actually kind of hoping Dota would trigger today, because he normally is more engaged on the whole pointing discussion. I thought that might help with Mojo's specific questions, because the tasking of work and stuff, figuring out the pointing, I think pointing is often a hard thing to do effectively, and is easy to get rid of when time becomes more pressing as a thing. So I've never done well with time management, but time estimations either.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad about that, because none of us are good at that.
No, even if you think, oh, this is going to take an hour, you rarely hit 100%.
Yeah. Someone says they're good at estimating times, they are most probably lying.
I'm definitely lying, but I definitely got really close in all of my estimates for the current contract. Like I was over by 1 hour, build hour.
That's insane.
Yeah. I have no idea how it happened. I'm trying to find my
Yeah, but you are surprised yourself that you managed to hit it that closely.
But does time estimation force deadlines for you?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Right.
And it makes me
so
take
your
shortcuts
focus on the
and
work,
do crappy
Yeah. So anytime you time estimate, you're naturally inclined to try and meet that time. So you're going to do whatever you can to get it done on time. I've seen that, and it's especially worse in less experienced developers, because they don't have the confidence in the code, so they're more likely to put stuff in there that's not as high a standard. Not that we're all perfect and we all put great code out all the time anyway, but you find there's less time to track those things and make justifications.
This one is kind of old, but this is how I did my time estimates. I took each of the applications, found out what they were asking for in those applications, wrote them out, gave them level of efforts, and then had a total level of effort for the entire group based off of the highest and then the average. And then pretty much spec'd out how much time each task might take based off of past experience, blah, 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 put it into this big worksheet, and then gave them an actual approximate time frame. And then a difference between if I'm working on it alone and only on this specific task versus, you guys are still allowed, you have access to me. And that means that you're going to bring up issues that you need solved right away, which is going to eat into this time. So the approximate time that I'm giving you is time working on this specific thing.
You managed to estimate in months and still hit that.
Yeah, and it was crazy because I was billing, I was logging the hours in each category. So this environmental compliance task was a category in my financing system that I would bill against. And that's when I was hitting these. And it was like, crazy because these two, I'm pretty sure, got swapped, where this one took a month, this one took 3 months. And that's what I mean by the things we think are going to take a short amount of time take a longer amount of time, vice versa. But yeah, I no longer have a junior, so this never got done.
So dev, age. No.
Dev
Welcome
H?
back to- Yeah.
Junior,
It's
senior.
not a
basically.
senior developer. It's not a junior developer. It's an Umberto developer.
Yeah, Daryl. I will be acting as if I'm a junior developer when I'm doing this task.
Will
How's
you be paid like a senior though?
I will not. My boss wouldn't let me.
We have a system here in Sweden that's made to stop corruption, and the idea is that it's usually governmental entities, but also some big companies. They write like a spec sheet, basically. We need this kind of stuff. We need this delivered, and then they have to go with the cheapest one. Doesn't matter what it is, like if they offer extra bells and whistles or whatever. They put out the spec sheet. We want the supplier to build this. Suppliers send in their offers and they have to take the cheapest one. So they can't go to, I know that guy, or
Right.
that guy's a friend, or he took me out for a night on town, or whatever.
Right.
The issue there is that we get an actual professional category of people whose job is to find loopholes.
Right.
How can we deliver to the spec in the cheapest way possible? And we don't care about if it's going to work or not. But sometimes when they want to get a contract for time, like they do one of these to have a ready-made contract for consultants. And they say, we want X amount of junior consultants and Y amount of senior consultants, and we want prices for both. What companies will do, or used to do, because it's illegal now, but they used to take the junior consultants and they used to sell them for 10 cents an hour. And then have the senior consultants be $250 an hour. So that brings down the average price, which means you win the contract. And then once it's time to do something, of course you have no junior consultants available. Speaking of, working as a junior or working as a senior.
Right.
But you build the same no matter what share you're filling, I guess. You're never a 10-cent developer, I hope.
So the lowest cost thing makes me think of the whole outsourcing component of I've been in organizations that have outsourced their development, and I've never seen good results from that.
No.
Right, and it's not necessarily the people on the other end were incompetent developers. They were also doing the thing they were being asked to do through translation, through many levels, and delivering stuff as quickly as possible to deadlines. So they kind of combines those two things where they've been given the deadlines without any understanding of their abilities or what they can actually achieve. But they cost less,
Mm-hmm.
and you just keep pushing that back for years.
I mean, technically, me and Lion, we are also outsourcing partners. But I think we work closer with the customer and have an open communication with them, and we're open to so this isn't working. We have to look at this.
I know what you mean by outsourcing.
I'm going to
partners.
generalize horribly here, but a lot of outsourcing goes to places like the Philippines or India and stuff. And especially India has a very different culture.
Yeah.
Again, I'm generalizing now, but a large part of the culture there is do as you're told or we will replace you. Which means that people are following the spec. And even if the spec is wrong or the spec won't work, they will still deliver to the spec.
So having been there, having actually worked with the team in India and been to India, I can say that again.
Yeah, that's my experience at least. I've worked with 3 teams in India, and all of them were like that.
but the developers I've met, they weren't bad developers. They were keen to learn, but when they've been given a job to do, like it kind of is, they just kind of follow what they're asked to do, and they don't really ask questions. They just get told. So in a lot of ways, the outsourcing is not necessarily a failure of the outsourcing itself. It's a breakdown of the communication. Like you just said, like you and Lion,
all the Indians I've worked with were great developers, each and every single one. When you spoke with them, they were hella smart.
Yep.
But their culture at the office was, you follow the spec or we're going to replace you. So they followed the spec.
They're also undercutting like other companies as well. So they're working to the lowest value. And again, it's that same thing where that's my concern. You get what you pay for. So if you're paying less, you get what what it's worth. And also with outsourcing, communication, and this is key on any planning, and that's kind of why I asked about the planning experience before. Any planning relies upon great communication, and the most effective in projects I've seen have all been through really great teamwork and collaboration between all the people involved, right from management down to the developers. That communication line is open, the information is clear, the requirements are clear, and I think that breaks down when you outsource and again going cheap.
Yeah, I concur.
Just like you said, I have trouble interrupting you guys, but I do want to read out some chat.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I love the conversation. President Not Sure is responding to this conversation too, saying me neither. To this very day, I've not heard of a single good output from outsourcing. I definitely have had experience.
Oh yeah, I have as well.
Good stuff. You get what you pay for. That is also true. And Thindle is right here. There is no outside of the box thinking in my experience either when outsourcing. For me, I don't outsource as my company. I've just had experience with it when I was working with at Sagetti, I should say, not with terminology. But yeah,
I haven't had outsourced teams work for me. I worked with them, like they've been working on the same project as me.
Right.
And the issue was the spec was bad. We got components. They did exactly what we asked for, but they didn't work because they would never work. But we never got any questions about it. There was no like, oh, so this isn't looking good. We got what we ordered. Like if we sent them a blueprint for a rear wheel drive car, but without an axle, they would deliver that. And then it wouldn't drive, of course. And that's 3 out of 3. But again, that's my experience. And I said I was generalizing something crazy.
Right.
It's a big country and it's an even bigger world. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're definitely allowed. I have a banner that is going across saying that we're all opinionated. Yep. So take everything that we say as our own viewpoints and opinions.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, that a sample size of 3 out of India is not a big sample size.
Right.
Yeah.
My last role was created because of that previous attempt to do it though, and sadly since I've left they've gone the management has gone back to that opinion where they can get more work out of, so you get quicker work out of more people that cost less than the few that you've got in the US.
Right.
Yeah.
But you pay for that, right? You pay for that. And it wasn't the fault of the people individually developing it. They were told to do a job and they did the job as quickly as they could. All of us will, and that's what, again, the comment about the timeline. If you've got a timeline and you meet it, well, that just means you've tried to push everything you can to get into that timeline. So you likely have made some compromises along the way there because you're like, oh, I can't afford the time to do this. And that's the same problem that shows through. And having gone in, evaluated a code base that had been developed for the past 7 years, evaluated it as being, it cannot support more development, it cannot support the future, it's taking 4 seconds to load a page and it's hosted locally. That's bad. Right? Gone in, evaluated that, got them managed the team, got the code in a better shape to at least then say, okay, now we know enough to replace it, so we rewrote it. That system that we replaced it with has been there for 8 years, so now it's outlived its original version, and it's still working today, even on AngularJS. But
Not Angular
yeah.
2.
AngularJS, yeah. But it's still working to this day. But now they're going back to that. Oh, we need to get some more work done, so let's outsource it. Well, it's not even outsourced; it's actually a division of the company, but they still do keep the costs low, and the culture is very much to blame for that as well. So they don't ask the questions they need to ask, and that was always a frustration.
Yeah, as I said, culture, not people. The people, every single developer I've worked with at offshore outsourcing companies have been great people. They have really known what the heck they're doing. Yeah.
And even then, when you're talking about culture, it's like the development team's culture.
Yeah. And
Just to be
management
more
and
specific.
company culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Company management. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't mind me
topic
though.
of
I'm
cul-
just replacing all of my SendGrid keys. Continue.
On the topic of culture,
Someone
actually,
doxed himself earlier, just saying, because someone wasn't using.
I was using no docs.
Yeah, not in that instance. Were you here, TBD, when that happened?
yeah, I still think you need to build a Rider version.
Do you know how to
Make it
build
for Rider
Rider
and VS
extensions?
Code and Azure portal.
I have no idea how to do it in Rider, but you should do it, definitely.
Yeah. Don't know who, but someone really wants it for VS Code as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't know TypeScript well enough, and I probably do, but I have no idea how the extension model works in VS Code or Rider, because I really need access to the rendered viewport to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's technically an overlay.
Oh,
The
if
good
one of
thing
you
with
can...
Studio is that I can get the actual coordinates, start and end coordinates of each letter in your code. Like where on screen it is, which makes it really simple to just overlay it with a thing. The actual code for the overlay is really simple. The advanced part is really the finding the tokens, finding what to overlay with stuff. And that could be reused, of course. And all that code is on GitHub if anyone feels like doing it. Just saying.
Do you have issues out there as good first issue or need help?
I do believe I have issues. For example, YAML.
Cool.
Because I started doing YAML and I decided that I did not like YAML. Because YAML is one of those, it looks easy and turns out it isn't. Things. Like, YAML has so many special cases. And I even added it as a good first issue. If you don't mind me doing, there you
Please
go.
do.
There's a list
I'm
of
always
issues.
up for self-promotion, you know that.
I'm just stuck on Mojo's comment, considering going to straight Vim. Why?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if you are already proficient in it and you can move around and it helps your development process or whatever reasons you have for it that make you, I don't know. It's hard for me to pick one thing, but let's just genericify it down to makes you a better developer. Then do it. But if it's for
or makes you your everyday better. Even if it makes you the same level of developer, if it gives you less friction in your day.
Or if you get enjoyment out of it.
Like exactly.
Enjoy
That's
using
what I
the
meant.
tool,
Like,
even if you're slower.
you might be just as efficient or inefficient, the same, but it makes you happier, then use whatever tool.
Yeah.
Don't be a toolist.
I just have the immediate gut reaction to rage against people that do things because it's the hype or it makes them look cool. But if that's what you're going for, I really shouldn't be knocking that. Like, if you want to look cool to other people and that's your reason for using a specific tool, then please do. I just don't want to hear you complaining about it.
Every Vim user I've worked with, not every Vim user I've ever met, but every Vim user I've ever worked with definitely has a superiority complex. They believe, and I think it's something to do with the amount of time and effort they put into learning how to do that. Like, you should just use Vim, it's way quicker. I can move the mouse and then I can remember 8 different keyboard shortcuts.
True.
Like, if I practiced it, yeah, but at this point in my life, I do not want to go back to learning how to use the keyboard when I'm pretty efficient at using a mouse and keyboard. Yeah.
I mean, I can beat every single Vim developer if that's the thing, because I used VI before there was an M on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it's a contest. And
technically, I did as well.
I wasn't in nerddom and being, I don't know, elitist.
Yeah.
And I've chosen to not keep using it because I don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it when I had to code on a terminal.
Go ahead, TBD.
I used to when I first started, I used to work in Basic on a Unix system. So Vi was my normal way of editing files. So I have used it. It's not like I'm talking from a complete place of inexperience. But I just, at this point, I'm like, I don't need to go off and learn a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. I can hardly remember things as they are at this age. I don't need to be forgetting how. Like, oh no, I need to change this line of code. Give me an hour. I'll get it. It'll be fine. It's too much difficulty at this point.
Mm-hmm. And I can see like parallels between, like, I'm a metaphor person. I don't know if you could tell this about me. One of the metaphors is like using a tape player in 2024. You want high fidelity audio, and yet you are constraining yourself to using a Walkman and cassette tape.
So on that subject, vinyl. Yeah,
and that's where the analogy does come into play, by the way, which is that you do get a different sound. Some people prefer that sound, and therefore you shouldn't stop using it if that's your target audience. But anyway, vinyl, is it okay?
That sound is an artifact of the production process. If you like that sound, you can add it.
You can emulate it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, you can add something that sounds the same.
But for some people, there's also the tactile.
But if you like it, as you say, if you like it, you like the experience of it, sure. But don't try to say that it's better. And I'm not saying CD or digital is better either, but it's like, yeah. That was my random sound and music thing.
No, that's fine. I love music. I'm back into music. I am.
Yeah, you said
having so much fun
to FL
again. Gosh, yeah. And I think Mojo was saying Bento last time because there is a Reactor 5 and 6 thing that is called Bento, and it's when you're doing sound engineering, which I am trying to develop my own sounds using oscillators and effects and stuff. Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Does anyone have any opinions about the whole Adobe debacle?
I don't know yet. First, let me read off Snobble's thing, and then we'll answer. But don't you write a bunch of YAML in Azure DevOps, Findle? And what I do like with YAML is that comments is in the standard. I used Vim. I am not sure I am superior. And then ED is the standard. I don't know what ED is. ED makes VI easy, seem easy. Edlin, anyone? Bento boxes in the UI. Yes, TBD. Oh, Bento boxes in the UI. Right, and we did look it up. My bad.
And yes, Azure DevOps also uses YAML these days. And I'm like, YAML, JSON, XML, it's the same darn thing. It's just different syntax. And I will die on that hill because that is what it is.
And you'll be a mouse on that.
And we just decide on one. I liked Ini. Let's go back to Ini.
Yes, chef.
Yeah. Yeah, present not sure. I think the classic pipelines are going away, unfortunately. I think they
Man, I
will
have so
lock
many
the editor soon. And then, yeah, the creative ones are probably going to be useful forever, or usable for a long time, but the editor is probably going to be locked down.
Right. So I'm going to stop the conversation there. It's time to do stand-up.
Based on feeling.
Based
I
on
have
time.
nothing to like to put behind that. I'm just thinking back on what they've done with other features. They've made them read only.
Findle's like,
and then,
we are not stopping the conversation. I didn't say we're going
nope.
to stop the
I
conversation.
am not stopping the conversation.
Findle, we're stopping the conversation.
Yeah, Stop.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up.
I will be looking into Azure Managed SQL. And I'm also looking into GDPR third-party cookie consent services because Google is starting to require it. Doesn't like you doing it on your own. So that's my weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I take it the blockers are needing to figure out a third-party solution that will work for you. That doesn't cost you $1 million.
That's the issue. Some of them are quite expensive. And the ones that aren't are bad. Or won't fulfill my set of requirements. Let's say it like that, because that's way better.
Way more better.
Right? They probably do they do exactly what they say they do. But yeah.
But not your needs. Well, definitely let us know in Discord if you would like to ask for someone's help finding one, or if you do find one, let us know what that
just
is.
In general, if anyone has any recommendations on any that you've used, shoot a message, please. I am looking at one named GoAdopt.io right now, but I have no good opinion to share with it about it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. TBD.
This week I've been focused on figuring out changes from my platform stuff. So I've been tinkering with Akka, and I've been looking at Kafka streams. So a bit of experimentation this week, and then finally decided that I think Akka will do what I need. So I think I can move forward with that. So I'm going to be working on calculating changes, which is kind of funny considering what we would been discussing this week with you talking about event sourcing and stuff. So yeah, I'll be focused on calculating a diff between two objects apparently.
Hey.
And then getting that in.
Let me tell you a story now concerning that in the middle of our stand-up, so that I take another 16 minutes just to tell my story and then not even do my stand-up. And then my stand-up's going to take another 30 minutes. So anyway, my stand-up is that I am getting back to order management, finishing the total gallons discrepancy checker thing, and I will be using event sourcing in the UI and replacing my current change tracking stuff so that I have undoability. And I really, really like that concept. I've wanted to do that for a while, but I don't think I will ever be using it on database records, at least not for the purposes that we use our database records. But that's where I'm at, and that is my stand-up, and that is all of stand-up. You're all free to go about your business. So,
have a great weekend, all.
Yeah. Any last words, though,
Take
other
care,
than have a great weekend?
Live
Words
long
of
and prosper.
advice? Oh.
And have a wonderful weekend. And see you around. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Last word sounds ominous. That's why I say it that way. It's so much fun. All right, that was Thindle and TBD. It doesn't seem like anyone else hopped into the... I hope no one else hopped into Discord, because if you did and you told me in chat, I would feel like a terrible host. But if you did and you didn't put it in chat, then I don't feel bad. That's on you. Still have no idea what's going on, but I guess I should say bye. So again, today was Community Day, where members of our community, and you are now a member of our community. You've been here for more than 2 seconds. You may have been lurking even before. But you are welcome to bring up topics around technology and things relevant to this stream. We are a .NET stream, but you can still talk about other programming languages if you want, although they may be inferior. They're still relevant. What else? I don't know what else. It's been fun. That's Fridays on this channel, but on Monday we will actually get back to doing UI development. We're finished with the design for the landing page. Do I use AI for code? Yes, I use Copilot within Visual Studio. It does do a good job of writing out the things that I am thinking. But yeah, that's definitely a topic that we can go into more detail on a Community Day stream. However, it's the end of our stream today. So I usually stream from 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, which is UTC -6, for 2 hours on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and also Mondays and Fridays, and then Wednesdays as well. Yes. Okay, but that's it for the stream. That's it for today. I have SendGrid windows all over the place, so I have not been lurking on anyone's channel. Does anyone have a recommended raid target? Did BitGamey start streaming? Because he would be my preferred recommended target. Where even are my windows? I have so many tabs open, so many windows open. This one. Nope. Excuse me, which one of you has Twitch on you? You have Twitch on you. BitGamey did not start streaming today, so we got Canny, we got Instafluff, we got Suribot. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That is very kind of you to say. Well, I will be back again on Monday. I don't see any recommendations, so I will go ahead and /raid Canny Dev, and we will head over there. Canny is a game developer working in Godot, I believe, and shows up on TBD's stream, shows up on Instafluffs, on Irish John, shows up everywhere. But yeah, if you aren't into game dev, you don't have to come with us. But that is where I will be heading, and I will most likely be lurking a lot because I will be getting back to work. And the lion is not from a zoo. Dang, he even added even more. Holy cow. So that's going to be it for me for today. I'll see you again the next time you come by, and hope we get to have a fun time. Okay, ciao for now. Enjoy your weekend as well, TBD, and everyone else. Ciao. I like how the music stopped right then.